everybody. Welcome back to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper, and today I'm chatting with the cast of Gentefied. The Netflix dramedy follows a family in East LA as they chase the American dream, tackle issues like gentrification, and embrace their true identities. Today I'm sitting down with stars Karrie Martin, Julissa Calderon, and Annie Gonzalez to break down the show. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
I always love when I've been in like a deep binge of a show and then I get to sit with the cast because I feel like I know you guys and I don't, but
No, you do, girl.
I do, right?
You know us.
I love the show so much. I've watched the first 5 episodes, and there's just something obviously so fun about it, but also so true and authentic. And you guys are really discussing some really important topics. So I think fans are really going to resonate with it. Karrie, I want to start with you. You were in casting before this, right? So this is your first kind of series regular role.
Yes, yeah. So I was still acting. I was so lucky to have the best boss ever. But yeah, I worked at Betty May Casting, which the last movie that I was able to work on was actually Bad Boys for Life. So that was amazing for sure. It was huge. Met Will Smith, got to camera with the cast. So I think casting helped me be where I am today for sure.
And what was it about this script and specifically Anna that you really wanted to go out for and audition for?
Well, in regards to Anna and I are so completely different. And that's probably why I was drawn to her so quickly, because I am not her, she is not me. Yet, that said, in walking her shoes and filming this story, you know, like this season, I learned so much about myself. Like learning to stand in my power and be unapologetically myself, I think was huge. But in regards to the script, it's us, it's our families, it's our home, you know what I mean? That's exactly what it's like at home. So that's super special for sure.
And tell us about your character. You mentioned that she's strong.
Yes, no, Anna Morales is a queer artist from Boyle Heights. She is one of the cousins. Definitely, I feel kind of like the glue of this toxic masculinity, as she says, that's around her. They're just always bickering, you know, and she's kind of like, damn, like y'all, I can't catch a break with y'all. But no, and then she is, you know, Jessica is her boo. And, you know, they have a really beautiful love story, and it has its ups and downs like any other love story. And I think for her, it's definitely, and then she has that crazy relationship with her mother too, which I feel like is so relatable, especially in the Hispanic families.
Julissa, let's talk about Jessica. What was your process for auditioning and what drew you to this character and this script?
Woo! I'll tell you my story. Actually, I went in for the audition as Jessica, and Jessica was they wanted an Afro-Latina from East LA that was a Mexican, a Blaxican, right? And I went in and they were like, well, she is not that. Yeah. So they passed on me, actually, yeah. And then I went in again, like 2 weeks later, I get a call from my manager for a producer session, and I'm like, what? But I haven't changed. And he's like, yeah, they just want to see you one more time. I was like, okay. I went in, did my thing, and then they were like, yeah, they're going to pass on you. You're just so Dominican. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's a good thing. And so that was what it was. And I actually was about to go to a Eat, Pray, Love trip for like a month to Europe. And 2 days before going, I get a phone call from my manager, and he's like, they want to see you again for the chemistry read, which is the last part before you get a role. And I was like, what? Like, they passed on me twice already. What do you mean? I haven't changed. And he's like, yeah, well, they just want to see you. And I was like, all right, here we go. And it was Last 4 Girls, and I went in for Jessica, and Karrie was already casted as Anna, and it was me chemistry reading with her. I was the first one up, and I left everything in that room. And before I left, I made sure to tell like casting in all my tears and everything. If you saw the show, it was because of episode 9. I won't ruin it for you. But I was in tears, and I was trying to talk to casting before I left, and I was like, I just want to tell, and I did. I told them, you know, honestly, I know that I'm very East Coast, and I know I'm not from East LA. I know I'm not Mexican, but I am Dominican, and I don't think that anyone's going to be able to portray and say this story and bring it to life like I am going to do. And I guess it worked, because I got casted as Jessica, and the best part and the sweetest part of it is that the role was rewritten to be a Dominican girl from New York. that went to
Love
LA.
that.
Yeah.
And Jessica is so bold, and I see that you are also very bold. You know how to go for what
How
you
you
want.
know?
But
Oh, okay.
what is her role in this show? How would you describe her as a character?
Wow. Karrie just used these words. Jessica is unapologetically herself. She stands in her power. But most importantly, Jessica's for the people. She is all about uplifting la comunidad. I feel like a connection to her through that, like lifting my people up and being so unapologetically Dominican and loving it and knowing that others are able to tell their story and stand proud of being a Dominican or a Latino, period, because I do so, and she does that as well.
And then you play Lydia.
I do.
I love how you were just like in to what she was saying.
Oh my
too.
God, the sisterhood
Something the
here
most
is
encouraging all the time.
I love these girls. These girls are my family, and it's all about sisterhood. So anytime they speak, I'm like, yeah.
I could like feel the love in your gaze. I was like, there's so much love on this stage right now.
We lay over here.
And you play Lydia.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey to auditioning and what that process was like for you.
Oh my goodness. So when I was 5, no, I'm just kidding. I am born and raised in East LA. So definitely that is my hood. Everywhere that we shot, I was like, oh my God. And then we would end up like seeing people from the community. They'd be like, hey, so that in and of itself was like, wow, one of a dream role. I've known Marvin and Linda, the creators, for a while now, since before they did the web series. Wow. Playing Lydia, a beautiful, brown, educated young woman who doesn't need to code switch in order to convey her intelligence, who not only outsourced and sought to get an education, but then sees how her community is worth pouring back into. And you see that with her relationship with Eric, how she is constantly uplifting him and trying to encourage him, and even how she is so reverent within her strength, because she is equally as strong as Jessica and as Ana, but in a different way because she has to be, and I love the grace that she walks in always, and in her power. And I love that she sees that her men and her community is worth pouring into, and she understands how enriching it is, and how once you're, light begots light. If she's able to empower one person, that'll cause a ripple effect. So I'm so happy that representation is shown on this platform, especially. I mean, so much representation of beautiful Latinidad and mujeres and sisterhood and just strength.
And I love that you're from East LA. The Boyle Heights neighborhood is the focus of this show, which is an area that is dealing with rapid gentrification.
Oh, yeah.
And so take me through why was it like important for you to be on a show that's highlighting what's actually happening in this community, you being from that community?
Yeah, I mean, my dad still lives in East LA, City Terrace specifically, and they have next door neighbors that came in. Gentefiers, essentially. They're Latino, queer Latino men that live there. They had then accused my little brother and little sister of being homophobic. My little brother identifies as queer, and now they have a court case against them. The day of our premiere, they were in court fighting this case. My 14-year-old little sister and 21-year-old little brother. I think the biggest part of it is they're not changing the community to better benefit the people that are from that community. They're changing it for selfish benefit. You're not offering help to anybody else that lives there. You're replacing and displacing a group of people that made it this now want to be sought after place that has so much culture. You're literally going to be stripping it of that culture should you move in and try and replace the people. I mean, and the thing that's so frustrating is those areas prior to the gentrification weren't policed. They weren't fixing the potholes in the streets. But now that there's new money, and that's when it happens. So that's why it's so important that this story is being told, so that we can raise awareness and figure out different ways to help the community and reach out to the community organizers if there's ways that we can fundraise, so we can set up different organizations so that these people can stay there. I don't think there's anything wrong with having low-income housing for people that need it. I think that's the issue. We think, well, I can make a buck. Why not? But why are we here? We're here for connection. Yeah. That's the point.
I agree. I mean, snaps to that. It is such a big issue in so many communities. And
yeah.
what I love about this show is that each character really has their own sort of relationship with gentrification and how they're dealing with it, how they think that their family should deal with it. Is there a particular episode or issue with gentrification that you guys are really proud of how the show talked about it or discussed it or shed light on it?
I think the overall.
Yeah, the overall of it, for sure. Because gentrification at the end of the day is happening in so many places. It's happening right here. It's happening in Washington Heights, which is where my family is from. So in a building where it was all Dominicans, and un barrio that it was all Dominicans, all of a sudden you see some hippies, and you're like, the problem with it though, it's not the fact that these people are coming into the neighborhoods and wanting to live with us. Cool, come, break bread with us. If that's what it is, that's okay. The problem is not that. The problem is that at 2 o'clock in the morning, when we're playing our music that we've been playing for 15 years, you decide you want to call the cops. If you're gonna come into these neighborhoods, come and embrace the culture, not just embrace the rent that's helping you out.
Yeah. Yeah, do you think this show can serve as a much-needed education for some people?
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. And I think it spans so many different generations. You know what I mean? I feel like speaking on Anna's behalf, I think it kind of clicks with her. Spoiler alert. At the last episode where she kind of mic drops and she was just like, wait, you people are trying to take away Pop's shop for real. You're not trying to help him keep his lease. You're really trying to like remove him and this place from here. Like it's like they're taking away the value of what the culture is already. On the other side of that, there's Pop's love interest, who is an older generation Latina who is embracing the change in a way that still keeps value to what she stands for and the the product that she's created. So I think that this story is so beautifully written and so beautifully expresses every side of the story without vilifying either side. So it's starting that incredible conversation that I think we should all be starting. We should be like, it's as opposed to attacking, just listen. Yeah. Listen.
Understand.
Yeah, to understand, educate yourselves. I'm educating myself just being on this show where I didn't have these experiences growing up. So I'm sure so many can relate.
And then I think to piggyback off that,
Yeah.
because it's such a roadmap of everything, you get to see everyone's side and you're almost you can agree with everyone. Thereafter, I think it's the common sense that, oh, maybe there is something that I can do. How am I contributing? How can I better inform the people around me and the people that don't understand this experience so that they are not contributing to the demise of the people that have lived here and have been here before? Because like they said in the show, it's like, well, there's nobody there. Damn, I'm nobody? That's crazy. That sucks. We're not. We've been here and we will continue to be here and thrive.
Be somebody's.
Eso, and be somebody.
I'm interested, what is the makeup of the writer's room? Because again, I think you guys really show the diversity of the Latina community, for sure. And I want to know what's the makeup of your writer's room to get all these voices in here.
The writer's room is as colorful as this room right
Yep,
here.
yes.
It is beautiful, and that's why this show is so authentic. It starts from the top, right? The creators are 2 brown people, 2 Mexicans, first generation, and then all of the executives on this show, except for one, are people of color. That is not usual. That is not the common theme in Hollywood. And that is why this show is like, it resonates with you because it's authentic. It's authentic because it starts from the top. It trickles. And those people know, okay, we can't hire someone that doesn't know this story to write. What are you going to write about? About your fairy tale thought of it? It doesn't work. So everything trickles, and it trickled into us being who we are and being these proud Latinos and being like, yup, we are here. And it comes from the top, and that is why it's so good.
Yeah.
I love the writing so much because how effortlessly it goes from English to Spanish, which I have a lot of friends who do that. And it's just so beautiful to see it in a script, how it just very easily flows. So what is that like? How's that been like for you guys to have a script that you get to like exercise that?
A dream.
I know. Right? I feel like I've said it so many times, but it's home. It's so homey because I feel like it's finally seen what we do behind closed doors almost. So it's kind of like being a fly on the wall in our houses. It's loud, it's messy, it's beautiful. You have misunderstandings. You know what I mean? Like it's a true story that I think that whether you're part of the Latino community or not, you're gonna relate to in such a heavy way because it's such a true story of who, of authenticity. Yeah.
And that family dynamic I think, is what makes it so relatable. Why do you guys think it's important to have pops? You have a grandfather, and then you have cousins, so not siblings. I just love that it's focusing on cousins and a grandparent. It's a dynamic that isn't typically explored.
You know what, though? In the Latino community, at least I could say this. In the Latino community, our cousins are our primo hermanos.
Yes.
I was just about to say that.
We say, and primo hermanos is brothers and cousins, right? Put together. That's how I call my cousins.
Yes.
And we say, when I introduce my cousins, I'm like, oh, this is my brother. That's not my brother. Yeah. But it is. Yeah. And you see that. It's Gentefied is a mirror of our lives, you guys. Like, it is exactly that. The Morales families, those cousins are brothers.
They're siblings.
They are siblings. They were although they weren't raised, well, Eric and Anna were. Yeah. Although they were raised together, Chris wasn't. He couldn't be any different than them in the sense of bloodline. Yeah.
And then, like, as a cast, it's like, I don't even know if this is like an actual thing outside of our cast, but we really like each other.
I don't like y'all.
Like the dynamic that we have, like, with Julissa and Annie as well, but like just like the cousins, their dynamic.
JJ and Carlos.
Yeah,
right?
JJ and Carlos, yes. Those little cuties over there. The dynamic that we have on screen is like to a T how we are offset. Like, where Carlos is always the one left out all the time. And it's like serious FOMO. And we're like, this is kind of great. Like, don't tell him what we just said. Because then it's just
right there, but he's still left out.
Yes. But it's the same. It's literally the same dynamic. It's so weird. It's so special. And I feel we're all so honored to just be a part of it.
It's the truth.
Yeah. It's really fast to add to that. I think that in the same breath, the way that you see how all these characters respect Pop, in real life, it's like that. We
like
all
that.
respect Joaquin Cosio, like this legend of a man, of an actor, of a human being. We're all like, Joaquin's here.
And we call him Pop.
Yeah, we call him Pop.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever called him Joaquin.
I don't think so either. I think I only call him Pop.
And I'll call him Pop.
And he only calls me Lydia. I don't know if it's because he doesn't know my real name. Either way, I'm just like, it's okay.
No, he called me Anna for a long time. He did, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He's just method.
And I respect that.
He's so good.
He's so good. He's always in character. I have to say that I really identified with the cousin dynamic. I think in a lot of communities of color, that is what it is. So I grew up with like 40 first cousins, and those were my first friends and my siblings. And I just was really impressed to see that dynamic played out because you just never really get to see it.
Absolutely. Listen, brown and black is the same.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to just remind everybody.
It is. But for you specifically, too, being an Afro-Latina actress, I've spoken to a lot of women who talk about how people try to pigeonhole you into being one or the other. And for you, representation-wise, what does it feel like to get to play both, you know?
Oh my God, it's allowing me to just walk in my truth, right? Like, we don't ever get to see this. We don't ever get to see a morenita with like kinky curly hair, and the fact that they allowed me to have this hair on, like, that they were like, yeah, this is what we want. This works. You don't see that. And so it's an honor. It's like a privilege. I feel like multifaceted. I'm like, yes, I get to tap into all these things. But it also allows other women and other people in general to see themselves and be like, yo, I am that. Whether sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't want to claim that I'm like Afro-Latina because one of my parents is only Latino and I don't speak Spanish, so I can't claim that. No, if that is who you are and that's who you feel you are, then you are an Afro-Latina. So I think that this is giving the light and the platform for everyone to say, okay, there I am.
Absolutely.
You're nodding your head. Do you have a similar?
No, I'm
experience or-
agreeing with the visibility. I mean, I know myself. I'm fifth generation, and I've always been told that I'm not Latina enough because I speak pocha Spanish. I don't really speak a lot, you know. And everyone's like, "Well, you must be embarrassed." I'm like, I'm not embarrassed. It's the colonization of my mind that I need to get rid of, you know. And realizing the border crossed us. I didn't cross the border, and I am. And it took me. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, but just to piggyback off that, I think you are what you are, and no one can take that away from you. The system won't. They see me, and what do they see? A brown woman. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Stand in your power.
Stand in your power
Yeah.
is the theme of today's conversation.
Yeah.
It's the theme of life.
Right? At least it
the
is for
theme of
2020.
Gentefied.
Yeah, especially with these strong women that you have on this show. You just kind of have to own it because we kind of boss those men around a little bit. It's kind of nice.
Unapologetic.
But I feel like that's kind of like Latina women in general. They're very strong, very powerful. Yeah, unapologetic.
You have to be
Yeah.
in this political climate, in this child. You got me.
Being
I
silent
will-
at this point in history is just, there's no point in it.
Listen, don't make me show you who I was so you know who I am. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm still from the hood, okay?
We have some questions for the audience. The first one comes from Melba.
Hi.
Hey.
Hope you guys are well. I have a question because, I'm a writer and I've been approached with like a professor telling me to change like the titles of my scripts or something that are half English, half Spanish, because they'll never get sold. And so like I'm wondering like if you guys touched upon it a little bit, but if you guys have any advice for like Latinas or like Latinx artists that are sometimes faced with doubt of success and stuff, like what advice can you
Listen,
give?
when I first started and I got to Hollywood, I went on so many meetings to get an agent, and I kid you not that I was told over and over. I had like 3 meetings in one day and like 2 meetings the next day, and in 4 of them, they were like, is there any way you can like tone down your accent? Do you know how to switch in and out so that we can get more roles for you? And I was like, I have an accent? Like, I didn't know that, right? Because where I'm from, ain't nobody told me that I had an accent before. And so luckily, I didn't listen to that because I had this one woman tell me, man, that's cute. And as much as maybe that wasn't like, it was real like, it wasn't like, yeah, it was really passive because maybe she saying cute is like, why is my accent cute? But her saying that and she took a chance on me, I was like, okay, whatever. Either way, it allowed me to be like, no, I'm not changing my accent. My shiro is Rosie Perez, and Rosie Perez never changed her accent. Do not change or do not dilute. Let me say that. Do not dilute anything that you feel is true to you because that's what's going to differentiate you from the rest.
And thanks to Marvin and Linda, I think now you can be like, go watch Gentefied. I can tell my story this way.
It's a bilingual
It's a
love letter.
bilingual, yeah, exactly.
It's a bilingual title. What?
Yes,
Gentefied, gentrified. That's it. You
Yes.
send
Yes,
the
you
send
send
to
that.
him. Let him send. I'll do a voice note. I'll
Girl,
be like,
get
listen.
him a membership for Netflix if he don't got
I
it.
think you just send him this interview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Professor,
It's effective.
we talking to you, Professor. Where you at? Where, Professor? Okay.
Thank you for your question. Where's Alex?
Hi, ladies. I saw that America Ferrero is an executive producer on the show.
Hey.
And as someone that's very revolutionary, as served in the community, I was wondering how it was working with her.
It was a
Amazing.
She
dream.
also directed.
She directed 2
Some of 'em,
episodes.
yeah.
3 and 4,
Four.
and it was magnificent. She is a hero to all of us, and the magic that she was able to create from the birth of this project to the execution made us feel so safe and seen and free enough for us to be able to to speak truth to power.
Yeah. I like to use this phrase, she's like a choreographer of actors. The way that she works on set to empower you, but to also be boss enough to know like this and this and this is what I want, so let's work with this is, yeah.
She's
There are no
awesome.
words.
Yeah, there are no words. She's just
You
so
spent cheese.
great. Yeah.
That's like the highest compliment, though.
Yeah.
One of my first like inspirations on screen. I mean, she did Real Women Have Curves, which is also set on the East Side, and I'm a little thick girl. I never seen nobody look like me on screen. I was like, wow. And she's beautiful, and she doesn't look like the typical what you see, even though that they're, of what the Latinas are represented in our community. And she is all like, everything under the sun. Yeah.
I love that too, because this show is a little bit of everything. I mean, each episode has its own energy. You're tackling different issues, but what remains is that the sisterhood and the family dynamic, which I think is so relatable and so beautiful to see on the screen. So congrats on the show.
Thank
It's
you.
great. Crossing my fingers for a second season.
Listen.
And if you guys haven't checked out Gentefied yet, you can stream it now on Netflix, guys. Put your hands
Yes.
together for Karrie, Julissa, and Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.